Hi, I'm Paul, and today we're going to be talking about weight management. We're going to be looking at the relationship between the calories we get from food and drink on the one side and the calories that we burn up in our daily lives on the other side. Your whole body, your lifestyle is always going to be in a state of balance. I'm going to represent this using a set of scales. On the one side of the scales, we're going to put food and drink, and that's going to represent the calories we consume during the day. And on the other side of the scales, there's the exercise and activity that we perform that burns those calories. Now, it's not quite that simple. We need to take into account something called basal metabolic rate, or BMR for short. And BMR is the number of calories that your body needs just to function throughout the day before you do any exercise at all. So we're going to add BMR onto one side of the scales alongside the exercise and activity. And now the scales are going to be in balance. Calories in, calories out, always the same. And as long as you don't change anything in your lifestyle, then that won't change. Your body size and shape will remain the same. As soon as you want to make changes, you need to change something. This is why people go on diets. Ultimately, all these diets work the same way. They work by reducing the number of calories that you take in during the day. So let's represent that on our scales by reducing that food and drink on the one side. Now, what happens is the balance shifts. We're in what we call a calorie deficit. Okay, now your body will always strive to reattain that balance. And what it does, it will reduce the weight that you're carrying, maybe reduce a little bit of muscle, reduce some fat, and that in turn will reduce your BMR until the scales rebalance. Then things will be in equilibrium again, so nothing else will change. And even if you stay on your diet, you won't lose any more weight. Now, you may reach your desired weight by now, in which case you think, great, I've done it, let's come off that diet, we've got where we want to go. So you come off the diet, you go back to your normal eating habits, but this means you're now in calorie surplus rather than calorie deficit. You're eating too much, your body will store that excess calories as fat until such a point as your BMR once again brings you back to a state of equilibrium. So basically, if you go back to your old eating habits, you will put on the same amount of weight that you lost and you'll be back where you started. This is why diets don't really work. It's actually worse news than that, because as I hinted at earlier, during your diet, you may lose a little bit of muscle. This is called muscle atrophy. Let's take a little look at the relationship between muscle and fat. Both contribute to your basal metabolic rate, but the equivalent amount of muscle contributes 4 times as much as the same quantity of fat. So for example, you go on your diet, you lose 100 grams of muscle while you're dieting. When you get to the end of the diet and put the weight back on, you'll have to put on 400 grams of fat to reach the same balance. So it's not good news. It's terrible news. In fact, you're slightly less muscle, you've got more fat, and you're back to worse than when you started. It's not all bad news, though. Let's just take a look at how we can use that to our advantage. Now, supposing you have a holiday or Christmas, you eat more. You're going to put on a little bit of weight. We all do it from time to time. You put on a little bit of weight, and this is because you've had a calorie surplus for a while. Your body's laid down a little bit of fat to balance it with your BMR. But then afterwards, at the end of your holiday or the end of the Christmas period, you go back to your normal diet, back to your old eating habits again. And of course, as we've seen before, your body reaches equilibrium again. So if it takes a couple of weeks to put a few pounds on, a couple of weeks afterwards, you'll lose them again. So that's good news. We can indulge from time to time. Now, I know what you're thinking. Diets don't work. What do we do to control our weight? Well, of course, exercise. Exercise is important. And let's look at cardiovascular exercise. That's what burns fat. Think about those machines in the gym. They have their fat burning zone. You do your cardio, you burn fat. Okay, so let's look at those scales again and just see what really happens. You increase the amount of exercise you're doing. Let's say you decided to do 2 sessions a week, 20 minutes. cardio exercise, you're burning calories. So the balance changes. You're using more calories now than you're taking in. So the balance shifts. Your body will need to burn a little bit of fat to rebalance. Once the BMR has changed enough, you'll be in equilibrium again. But now we're doing 2 classes a week, 2 exercise sessions a week, and we're not losing any more weight. So what do? We increase the exercise. We need to lose a bit more weight. Let's increase the exercise. Let's do 4 or 5 sessions a week, 40 minutes, 50 minutes, an hour. And again, the balance will shift a little bit again, calorie deficit, and your body will lose weight, but it will then rebalance again as your BMR comes down. And doing the cardio, you might be losing a little bit of muscle as well. So now, where are we? We've lost the weight, but we're now doing 5 exercise sessions a week. We're doing loads of cardio, and can we sustain it? Probably not. Okay, so once you start easing off that cardio, things will shift the other way and you will put the weight back on. It's not the ideal solution. So I'm going to take a little look now at resistance training, different form of exercise, not traditionally linked with losing weight. But let's see what happens if we do some resistance training. Your muscles will need to work. Therefore, they will increase slightly in size and they will become denser and stronger, and you will have more muscle tone. You won't necessarily look much bigger. It doesn't take a lot of muscle to make a difference, and it's actually very difficult to put on enough muscle that makes you look muscular, makes you look like a bodybuilder. So if you don't want that, don't worry. You'll just look a little bit more toned. Now, that muscle that you use up contributes quite a lot to your basal metabolic rate. Remember, 4 times as much as the equivalent amount of fat. So we're now in calorie deficit again because of the BMR, and you will burn fat. This time, though, you probably won't burn muscle because you're doing your resistance training. Your body needs to maintain your muscle tone in order to keep up with that exercise. So by doing resistance training, you can change your weight, burn a little bit of fat. And the good news is that then to maintain that muscle, you don't need to do quite so much. You can go back to a maintenance level of resistance training to maintain that muscular size and definition. So where does that leave us with a plan? Well, my plan includes exercise and of course resistance training, but also linked with a little bit of adjusting how many calories you're taking in. And what we do is we make small changes week by week, but so small that you probably don't notice the difference. You won't go hungry, you won't miss anything. We're just going to make small changes, mainly to portion size. Combine that with the exercise sessions, and I've got some really fun sessions for you to join in. That is going to give you a little bit of cardio and some resistance training. Of course, cardio is important. Irrespective of weight loss, cardio is important for a healthy heart and lungs. So it's going to be good for overall fitness, reduce your risk of coronary heart disease, reduce your risk of type 2 diabetes. We put that together into a full plan that you can subscribe to. So if you're up for it, join me on this journey. We'll do it together. We'll take control of our weight and our body shape, and we'll feel happier and fitter and healthier as we go into the future. It's not going to be quick. I reckon probably a minimum of 3 months to see some serious changes, maybe 6 months to get where you want to be. But the sooner you start, the sooner you'll get there. So sign up, guys. I hope to see you there and join me in my weight management plan. Take care. And I'll see you there very soon. Bye.